So let's go ahead and move on to the next thing, which is Jerry Rice and what he had to say about Myles Garrett coming to the San Francisco 49ers and what he had to say about it. I actually thought it was kind of interesting. Everyone knows that even the 49ers brass respects Jerry Rice and what he has to say. So when he does say something like, hey, they should go do this, not just an opinion piece, but like it is his opinion, right? But it's more like he's trying to manifest it to make it happen. He's calling out the 49ers brass to be like, hey, go get this guy. Try and get this guy. And I think that says a lot compared to any other fan out there. And a 49ers insider who has an opinion that they should go get them, I just feel like someone like that who has connections to the front office saying something like this is a pretty big deal. And let's go ahead and jump into what Jerry Rice had to say. Okay, so Jerry Rice thinks 49ers should trade for disgruntled superstar Myles Garrett. I don't know why this is a secret. I don't know why Gabe Fernandez is just not putting Myles Garrett right here, but I digress. You're literally just showing a photo of him. Hall of Famer Jerry Rice wants the 49ers to make what could be one of the most impactful trades in franchise history. Cleveland Browns defensive end Myles Garrett publicly requested a trade Monday, less than a week after organization said they wanted him to retire with the team. The announcement opened up every 49ers fan, including Rice, to the fantasy of the reigning defensive player of the year joining the red and gold. Before we get into what Jerry Rice had to say, just real quick, I know what the owner says and what the GM said, saying, hey, we're not trading him. We want to keep him to retire. It's not like Debo, right? It's not like your typical trade requests where it's like, hey, the problem is I just want money, right? The problem is I want certain securities and et cetera. This is literally disgruntled saying, I do not believe in this team. That's the difference between any other time. He's saying, I do not believe in this team. There's nothing you can do. You've given me nothing to believe in the future. And honestly, if you really think about it, there's really nothing the Browns can do to kind of turn around in time as fast as Garrett wants it to happen. There's really nothing you can do. You're stuck with Deshaun Watson. You could trade Benito, the guard. Some people are connecting him to San Francisco 49ers, but that's not going to be enough. That's not going to be enough to suddenly turn you into Super Bowl contenders. The Browns are stuck in a very, very rotten place. And so compared to other situations where people are just like, I want to trade because I want more money, this guy's like, I want to trade because there's no way in hell I'm winning a championship here. Look what's happening. And I feel like this was something that's been boiling for a while. I feel like this is something that's been boiling for quite some time now. Even start of the year of last year, you heard like rumblings of like, if this doesn't work out, I want to trade, I want out. Garrett made promises of like, hey, we're going to pursue even bigger trophies than the one that bigger successes that they had not this year, but the previous year going to the playoffs. And they're not going anywhere, right? It's just terrible. And so I do think that at the end of the day, Myles Garrett is going to get out of Cleveland. I mean, the ownership and the management will have to say some serious convincing things. We'll have to do some serious convincing things to make that happen. So depending upon how stubborn that GM is at the end of the day, like he needs to do something. And then if they want to like play hardball with him, I could see this lasting all the way up until the draft. If Garrett's saying, hey, I want out, and this is me saying goodbye to you guys, and it's not based on money, right, or security, he's out, dude. He's gone. There's no convincing that. So let's go ahead and jump into what Jerry Rice had to say. Man, that's a dog, says Rice, said of Garrett on 95.7. The Morning Roast. Interesting name for a place. That's a dog. That's a no-brainer. If you can get that dog, you can go get him because it's only going to add to that defense. And you win championships with defense. That's true. I mean, a lot of the Chiefs have great defenses. Legion of Boom is a good example. The Patriots and what they did against the Rams is a good example of that. I do not care. I don't care how potent your offense is and how many points you're putting up. You've got to be able to stop the opponent, and he would be great at part of doing that. I agree. I think Myles Garrett would fill so many holes, and not to mention if Nick Bosa gets injured, we still have a star-studded D end right at the other end. You don't need to like force the issue at D end anymore. You just got to get depth piece D ends at that point. Just players such as Leonard Floyd, who has just pass rushing ability, but not run stopping ability. Get a D tackle who are run stoppers, but not necessarily both pass rushing and D tackle. It opens up the door. If you get Myles Garrett or just a really great pass rusher in general at that situation who can do both, not to mention handle double teams, because Myles Garrett is one of the most, if not the most, double team D end in the entire league since he's been in the league. Getting a player like that would be a wrecking ball, especially for Nick Bosa, who is not very good at double teams, man. He can't handle double teams. He doesn't win very much. He's not nearly as good as Myles Garrett's at it. So if you can imagine having Myles Garrett, who has to get double teamed, Nick Bosa, who already gets double teamed, there'd be no excuses for Nick Bosa at that point, because I feel like a lot of offensive linemen and offenses would focus more on Myles Garrett than Nick Bosa in that situation. And it would seriously make the corners better. It would make the linebackers better. It would make the safeties better. Heck, you wouldn't have to force the issue at linebacker when it comes to the draft or free agency. You wouldn't have to force the issue at corner or anything like that, because your pass rush is so fucking good. Not to mention your run stopping ability is amazing, because Myles Garrett can set the edge, and he can play inside if you wanted to. Getting Myles Garrett is a lot more than just a pass rusher. It's a lot more than just a pass rusher. You're getting a true difference maker. Did he say anything else? I don't think he said anything more than that. And this is what this article has to say. John Lynch and the rest of the 49ers front office should very well consider themselves contenders for the disgruntled superstar. I hope so. Garrett's statement cited a desire to win and compete on the biggest stages, easiest schedule in the league, a team that was held back due to injuries. It's just so perfect. I think it would be perfect for the 49ers, especially since they have the better pick compared to other contending teams where they have like the later pick of like the 20th and et cetera, or whatever. We have the 11th pick. Out of all the contenders, Commanders, Bills, Chiefs, you name it, we have the better pick. And he's not going to go to the Raiders. He's not going to go to the Patriots. That would be ridiculous, because Garrett would have a say where he wants to go, right? He would have a say where he wants to go, because he can easily turn down a trade if he wanted to, saying, I'm not signing there. I'm not going there. He has that kind of power. He's that kind of a superstar. While the 49ers failed to do much of that this season, they have shown incredible bounce back capabilities when they missed the playoffs under Shanahan. Also, keep in mind, they do now have Robert Saleh as well. So Robert Saleh, with just the best pass rushing duo in the NFL by far, would be crazy. After losing Super Bowl 54 in 2020, they missed the next postseason, but followed that up with 3 straight conference championship appearances and another trip to the Super Bowl. Exactly. We've proven that we can get back to it even with a down year after a Super Bowl. Garrett would almost certainly bring the defensive line back to its dominant form that struck fear in the hearts of quarterbacks across the league. He led the league in tackles for the loss last season. He had double-digit sacks every year since 2018. That's fucking insane. At least 14 sacks a year since 2021. And he's earned 4 All-Pro nods over the past 5 seasons. Garrett on one end with Nick Bosa on the other would create matchup nightmares for offensive lines and free at least one of the 2 former Defensive Player of the Year winners each and every play. Talking about Garrett and Nick Bosa. Combined with that, with the return of Robert Saleh, and it's quite an enticing situation to start being. I do think that Robert Saleh can help bring in free agents, right? Because a lot of players speak highly of him, love him. Eric Armstead, who has every right to hate on the 49ers right now, speaks highly of Robert Saleh, saying he's jealous. If Garrett heard the word about Robert Saleh and how good he is, I'm pretty sure he's faced him before, he would want to play for a guy like that. He knows the defense can be good. He knows that the commander of the defense is good. Garrett will probably have some say in where he goes, but that doesn't necessarily mean it will just roll over in no negotiations. The Niners' most valuable trade chip is the number 11th overall pick this year's draft. Will the organization be willing to give up that? Yes, they would. What's earned following a difficult year, plus a little bit more? According to perhaps the greatest player in the team's history, the answer should unequivocally be yes. Without a doubt, because let's be honest, man, that first pick, the 11th pick, is not going to be an offensive line. They're not going to draft a guard with the 11th pick, which is Will Campbell. They're not going to draft a center with the 11th pick. It's not going to happen, right? It's something they would do in the 2nd or 3rd round. It's just not going to happen. There is no tackle worth taking at the 11th pick. It's just not going to happen. So you know they're already going to draft a D-end at that point. Why not use that pick to go get a bona fide starting proven commodity in Myles Garrett at that point? If you're already going to use the 11th pick on a D-end, just use it on Myles Garrett. First pick, and then next year's pick, you plan on that pick being a late 20s pick. I plan on, before the Myles Garrett thing, I plan on that pick being late 20s. Have you seen the schedule of the San Francisco 49ers? Even if they somehow fumble the season somehow, that shit is going to be like a 16th or 17th pick. It's going to be back end. All right, it's not going to be it's not going to be close to 11th pick. With Myles Garrett, that would change the game entirely. It's practically early second round pick at that point. I would easily give up the 11th pick and next year's first to do it. I love I can't remember who brought it up, but the 11th pick and like a second, I wouldn't mind even doing that, because if San Francisco 49ers have proven that they can find stars in the 3rd, 4th, and we have 3 4th round draft picks, 10 of them of which in this draft, it would just make too much sense. It would just make way too much sense for the San Francisco 49ers to do it, especially since its cap is 6.3 this year. So some people were like, oh, but you won't be able to afford him, so it'll take him way too much to the cap. He's 6.3 against the cap if we were to trade for him. 6.3. And the 49ers have somewhere between $50 and $60 million in cap space. They're like top 10 in cap space. They could afford him. That money, 6.3, that's death piece money. So you'd be paying Myles Garrett, one of the best players, as a death piece. Doesn't get any better than that. Not to mention, you have a severe need at D end. One of the biggest needs at D end in the league. It's vacant. Okay, there's Drake Jackson is not the answer. Leonard Floyd had the quietest 8.5 sacks I've ever fucking seen in my entire life, and he's old as shit. Samo is probably the best edge rusher we got, and he's just a depth piece at best. We need a D end. That's one of the biggest needs of the San Francisco 49ers this year, and you would solve, not only would you solve the D end situation, you would solve inside as well because you can move Myles Garrett inside. He's like Chris Jones in that way. You can move him as a D tackle or you can move him as D end. Obviously keep using him as D end because that's what you should do. But he's that kind of guy. He's that kind of a threat. So if you drafted, let's say the 49ers get Myles Garrett, right? There's a lot of D ends in this draft. They can, if they really felt like we're just going to use Myles Garrett for 2 years, right? If we're just going to use Myles Garrett for the contract, which he's on right now, for 2 years, right? You'd be like, oh, but what about D end? There are a lot of good D ends that are going to fall in the 2nd to 3rd round, right? There's going to be a lot of them. There's some in the 4th round. And we have 3 of those picks. Those are development pieces that you can easily get, and they can sit behind Myles Garrett and Nick Bosa. To be like, okay, well, we should use it on a young guy. We'll use it on a young guy in the 3rd or 4th round. Most of the time, a 2nd round pick that has a high ceiling that just needs 1 year falls into the 3rd or 4th round. Get that guy because you'll be able to do it. You would be able to do that then if you really wanted to. D tackle, there's plenty of D tackles in free agency you can get that would be relatively cheap that can stop the run. Guards and centers you can also get in the 3rd or 4th round pick. And understand, guys, I understand you're saying, but you're saying 3rd and 4th round. All right, how many 3rd and 4th rounds could you possibly get with a D end and an O line, right? You're running out of pieces at the point. 10 picks in this draft. And I think you have 5 of them in the 3rd and 4th round pick. So get 1 D end in the 3rd round, 1 offensive line in the 3rd round, get another offensive lineman in the 4th round, and do where the fuck you want with the other 2 4th round picks. So you can literally do O-line and D end and D tackle and still have 2 other picks remaining to use on other things. It's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. It doesn't get any better for the 49ers. It's not forcing the issue. It's really not. It's not being like, okay, this guy's just good, so let's just do something stupid by ruining our cap. I understand there's going to be like 4 or 5 other teams. Probably 31 other teams are going to put their offer in the hat, right? They're going to give it a chance, right? So the chance of actually getting Myles Garrett is not very high. It's like literally under 10%. But I just want to see the effort. And I've said this last time in live. I just want to know that John Lynch tried. That's all I want. I would really appreciate that. I'm not going to be upset if someone else ends up getting Myles Garrett to the fact of like getting mad at the front office for not making it happen. It's not something where just 3 teams are coming at it, so it's between 3 teams. No, 31 other teams are going to go after Myles Garrett. That's really fucking low chances of you getting that guy. So if we get him, hallelujah. If we don't get him, I'll be disappointed. I'll be upset, but I won't be upset with the front office. I'll just be like, dude, you picked the wrong one. You should have gone to the 49ers. That's what you should have done. But Jerry Rice, man, he's right. Jerry Rice says, go get him. Go get the dog. Go get this player. Go do what you got to do. Get this guy, man. He's a game changer, dude. He's practically 2 defensive ends that are all pro defensive ends. He's practically 2 of them at that point. I agree with Jerry Rice, and hopefully Jerry Rice is screaming in John Lynch's ear, dude, you have to make this happen. Like, give him special privileges in the gym. Give him the closest parking spot to the facility, like pick him up every day with a limo and champagne, whatever the fuck he wants. Whatever perks you want to give him, give it to him. We need that guy.